Most people think a condo is just a smaller, cheaper version of a house. That's wrong. And I can prove it with 4 condos and 2 buyers I sold to with my own 2 hands. One's a secret penthouse tucked above the chaos of the French Quarter, 333 Chartres. One used to belong to a New Orleans mayor, as this one is, split into 4 condos in the Garden District, 1805 Coliseum. One sits on the North Shore in Madisonville, fully renovated, built for a completely different kind of life. That's 127 Highway 22, and one sits a few blocks off Coliseum Square on a street where the porches do all the talking on the Sunday night, 1203 Constantinople. Here's the thing, it's not 4 different buyers, it's 2 buyers whose lives changed and their needs changed right along with them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one is you and where you might land next. I'm born and raised right here, and I sold all 4 of these myself. So what you're getting today isn't guesswork. It's real numbers, real buyers, and the financial math on condos versus house that most people never explain properly. The French Quarter secret, 333 Chartres E and F. Let's start at the top literally. 333 Chartres sits in the heart of the French Quarter, and the units we're talking about, E and F, are those 2 penthouse condos on the top floor of the building. These aren't ground floor units getting foot traffic all day. They're up top, and they've sold more than once over the years, which tells you something right away about how they hold up in the market. Now here's the myth. People hear French Quarter condo and picture Bourbon Street at 2 a.m., tourists yelling, trash on the sidewalk, and a building that shakes every time the brass band walks by. That's the assumption. And for some blocks in the quarter, sure, that's the reality. But these units flip that idea completely. You get to them through a private gated entrance tucked away from the street level noise. It's the kind of access point most tourists walk right past without ever noticing there's a residence back there. Once you're in, you take an elevator straight up, and that alone changes the whole feel of the building. No walking up 4 flights with your groceries, no fighting for a spot on a shared staircase. You arrive at your door and it already feels separate from everything happening below. And what's waiting there isn't a cramped hotel-style unit either. We're talking 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, laid out in a way that actually breathes. High ceilings, real square footage, a living space that functions like a home, not a weekend rental. Above the quarter, at that top floor level, the sound just changes. You hear the city, sure, but it's distant. It's below you, not on top of you. So who buys this? 3 types of people, and they show up again and again. First, the pied-à-terre buyer, somebody who's got a home somewhere else, maybe out of state, maybe even out of the country, and wants a place in New Orleans they can lock up and leave without thinking twice about it. Second, the out-of-towner who wants convenience over everything. They're not trying to manage a yard from 400 miles away. They want a door they can lock, a building that handles the rest, and a unit that's ready the second they land. And third, the second home buyer who's already done this single-family rental thing somewhere else and got burned by it. A busted water heater at midnight, a tenant who won't return a call, a roof leak nobody caught until it cost 5 figures. That buyer wants out of that cycle completely, and a top-floor French Quarter condo behind a great gated entrance is exactly the opposite of that headache. Here's what I want you to sit with for a second. When a realtor sells the same stack of units more than once, that's not luck. That's the market telling you something. Buyers come in, they live their season of life in that unit, they move on, and the next buyer steps right in the same setup because it still works. E and F have done that dance more than once, and every time it sold fast. So that's the hidden gem sitting above the chaos of the quarter. But there's a different kind of hidden story happening a few miles away in a mansion that used to belong to a man who ran this whole city. The Mayor's Mansion, 1805 Coliseum. So picture this, it's the 1850s, and one of New Orleans' own mayors is living in a mansion on Coliseum Street in the Garden District. Big place, built to impress, built to last. Fast forward to today, and that same mansion got split into 4 condos. Same walls, same bones, same ceilings that mayor walked under. Just divided up so 4 different families get to own a piece of it instead of one. And that right there changes everything about who shows up to buy. The French Quarter buyer we just talked about lifestyle? They wanted access, privacy, a lock and leave setup. This buyer wants none of that as the main draw. They're not asking how close is this to the action or can I rent this out easy? They're asking a completely different question. What's the story here and can I be part of it? Because that's what you're actually buying at 1805 Coliseum. You're buying provenance. You're buying the fact that you can tell somebody at a dinner party you live in a mayor's old mansion and watch their face change. Now let's talk about what's actually inside, because the story only works if the bones back it up. And here they do. Ceilings that soar up over your head in a way new construction just doesn't do anymore. Original fireplaces, the real kind, built into the walls when this house went up, not tacked on for looks later. Wide plank wood floors that have carried 170 years of foot traffic and still hold their character. You cannot recreate this with a builder or a permit. You can only inherit it. On the practical side, it's not all romance and no function. There's on-site parking, which is a neighborhood like this is worth more than people realize. You're a short walk to Coliseum Square and close enough to the streetcar line that getting into the rest of the city doesn't take real planning. So this isn't a buyer sacrificing livability for the sake of a story. They're getting both. But I want to be straight with you about the catch, because there's always a catch with a building this old. When you split a mansion into 4 condos, you've got shared walls, shared roof, shared responsibility for the parts of the building that belong to everybody and nobody at the same time. That means a board. That means common area upkeep. That means old building quirks, plumbing that runs differently than you'd expect, wiring that's been updated in sections over decades rather than all at once. It's not a deal breaker. It's just the reality of owning a slice of something built in 1850 instead of 2020. The buyer who takes all this on with a smile, that's somebody who wants to say where they live and watch the reaction on somebody's face. That's the whole appeal. It's not about square footage or walkability scores. It's about the address doing some of the talking for you. 3 buyers in, and we've already seen 2 completely different people wanting 2 completely different things. One wanted to disappear behind a gate above the quarter. This one wants a story attached to their front door. So what happens when a buyer wants neither of those? No gate, no history, just space, water, and room to breathe. That's where Madisonville comes in. The Suburban Sanctuary, 127 Highway 22 in Madisonville. Remember that pied-à-terre buyer we talked about? The one who wanted the gated entrance and the elevator and the lock and leave setup above the French Quarter? Sometimes that same buyer comes back to me 5 years later and they want something completely different. Life changes. Maybe they bought a boat. Maybe they got tired of concrete and wanted trees, water, a yard that isn't shared with 3 other units. That's how I ended up selling 127 Highway 22 out of Madisonville. This one's on the North Shore, fully renovated, townhome style, and it's got real size to it. 1624 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 3 baths. That's not a penthouse squeezed into a historic building. That's a layout built for someone who wants to spread out, and that's the whole shift here. This buyer isn't chasing French Quarter energy anymore. They had that season. They lived it. Now they want quiet, they want space, and they want a slower pace without giving up the parts of condo ownership that actually made their life easier the first time around. Walk inside and it doesn't feel like a downsized version of anything. Modern finishes throughout, an updated kitchen, updated baths, the kind of renovation where someone clearly thought about how a person actually moves through a kitchen instead of just making it look nice in photos. It lives like a house, but it doesn't come with a house list of things waiting to break. And that's the real draw of Madisonville itself. You're close to the water, close enough that keeping a boat isn't some once-a-year hassle. It's part of your week. The pace slows down. You're not fighting for parking. You're not hearing a brass band at midnight. It's a small town rhythm here, but you're still close enough to the city that a trip in for dinner or a doctor's appointment doesn't eat your whole day. So who ends up here? Somebody done with yard work. Somebody done climbing a ladder every time a gutter clogs or a shingle blows off and on a storm. They still want the condo lifestyle, the shared upkeep, the lock and leave peace of mind, but they refuse to give up square footage to get it. That's exactly what this unit offers, and it's exactly why the same French Quarter buyer found their way here eventually. Now I'll be straight with you about the trade-off, because I always am. You're giving up walkability. You're giving up the 20-minute rule that everything in the city is close enough to walk to. Out here, you're driving. That's the deal. And for the right person, that's not a downside at all. That's the whole point. They wanted out of foot traffic and into a driveway with a boat parked in it. So that's one buyer's full arc, from a gated penthouse above the water to a renovated retreat on the North Shore. But there's a second buyer out here with a completely different story, and their next chapter didn't take them out of the city at all. It took them a few blocks over to a street where the Porches do all the talking on a Sunday night. The Porch Concert Life, 1203 Constantinople. That mansion buyer on Coliseum Street, the one who wanted a story behind their front door, they didn't move because the mansion stopped working for them. They moved because they found something the mansion couldn't give them, a Sunday night ritual. 1203 Constantinople sits a few blocks off Coliseum Square, just over the line in Truro, right next door to the Garden District, with that same kind of architecture that made the first purchase feel like an inheritance. But the reason this buyer packed up and moved wasn't square footage, and it wasn't a bigger kitchen. It was music. Real, regular sit on your porch with a glass of wine music, happening close enough that you can hear it without leaving your own front steps. See, once you've lived in a mansion split into 4 units, you get used to people asking where you live. You get used to that reaction, but after a while, the story starts to feel like a museum you're renting out to guests. This buyer wanted a house, not an exhibit. They wanted a street where something actually happens on a weekly basis, where neighbors show up with folding chairs, and where the whole block turns into a front row seat without anybody planning it in that way. That's Constantinople Street. Porch concerts aren't a once-a-year festival thing out here. They're closer to a standing appointment. And once this buyer got a taste of that, the mansion started to feel quiet in a way they didn't love anymore. Provenance is great at a dinner party. It doesn't play a set on a Sunday night. So the move from Coliseum to Constantinople wasn't a downgrade in status. If anything, it's a lateral move into Truro. The real math, condo versus house. Let's talk about the thing everybody says second a condo comes up. I don't want to pay an HOA fee. That's just money I'm throwing away every month for nothing. I hear it constantly, and I get it, why people think it. You write that check and it feels like it's going into a void. So I sat down with Lester Coe over at TWFG Insurance, somebody who deals with the numbers all day, every day, to settle this once and for all. And Lester didn't hedge. A condo HO6 policy insures your interior and your personal property. The building itself, the roof, the exterior walls, that's covered under the association's master policy, Lester told me. A single family owner is insuring all of that themselves, roof to foundation, with nobody splitting the bill. He put it even in plainer language than that. People think they're saving money by skipping the HOA. What they're actually doing is signing up to insure an entire structure alone instead of sharing that risk with a dozen other owners. And here's the third thing he said that stuck with me. Wind and hail coverage on a standalone house in this region costs a lot more than most people expect. And that's before you factor in what a full roof replacement runs if a storm actually takes it out. So let's break down what the master policy is actually doing for you. It's covering the roof over your head, literally. It's covering the exterior walls, the structure, the stuff that costs real money to fix and that you'd otherwise be insuring completely on your own. When a hurricane rolls through and tears up 10 roofs on a block, the condo owners got a policy and an association absorbing that hit collectively. The single family owner is getting one bill with their name on it and no one splitting it with them. Now run the actual numbers. Say your HOA fee is $300, $400, $500 a month. Sounds like a lot stacked up over a year, but price out a roof replacement on a standalone house in New Orleans. Then price out full exterior maintenance, painting, gutters, structural repairs, and then look at what wind and hail coverage costs on top of a standard policy in this part of the country. Add all of that up over the same year, and that HOA fee doesn't look like money thrown away anymore. It looks cheap. That's the case plainly. In a lot of situations, the extra you're paying every month in a condo is actually less than what a single family owner pays to cover the exact same risks on their own. You're not avoiding a cost by skipping the HOA. You're just moving that cost somewhere else, usually somewhere bigger, and usually somewhere that shows up all at once instead of spread out monthly. And once you add it all up, the math isn't close. That's before you even count what you get back in time. No ladder against the house every fall. No Saturday morning spent spent on a roof. No calling around for a contractor when a pipe bursts on the shared structure. That's hours back in your week that a single family owner just doesn't get. But the money side is only half of it. When you buy a condo, you're not just buying square footage, you're buying into a community. And that's the part nobody explains at closing. There's a board. Real people, usually your neighbors, making decisions about the building you live in. They vote on when the roof gets replaced, whether the parking lot gets repaved this year or next, whether the pool stays open or gets shut down for repairs. You get a voice in that, sure, but you don't get the final word by yourself. If you're the type who wants total control over every decision affecting your home, that's worth sitting with before you sign anything. Then there's the rules, covenants, they call them, and every building's got its own version. Can you rent your unit out short-term, or does the association shut that down? Can you have a dog over 30 pounds? Can you paint your door a different color, or does it have to match the building? None of that is a deal breaker on its own, but you need to read it before you buy, not after. And here's the piece that actually touches your wallet down the line, the reserve fund. That's the money the association's been setting aside for big ticket stuff, roof replacement, repaving, major plumbing. A building with a healthy reserve fund means the money's already there when something breaks. A building that's been underfunding it for years means a special assessment lands on every owner at once, sometimes for thousands of dollars, sometimes with 30 days to pay it. Ask about the reserve fund before you buy. It matters more than the granite countertop. And this is exactly why the inspection period matters so much more with a condo than with a house. You need to request the HOA articles and bylaws, the financial reports, the reserve study, and the minutes from the last year or two of board meetings. Read the bylaws closely, because the wording in there tells you how people actually deal with each other in that building. Are the rules reasonable, or are they written by somebody looking for a reason to fine you? The financial reports and the reserve study tell you if the money's really there, or if it's just a number on paper. And the board meeting minutes, that's where you find out if there's a lawsuit brewing, a leaky roof nobody fixed, or a fight between owners that's been going on for 2 years. None of that shows up when you walk through the unit. A granite countertop tells you nothing about whether this building's finances or its people are a mess. Those documents do. Your neighbors matter too, in a way they just don't with a standalone house. Somebody skips their dues, the whole building feels it. Somebody rents to a bad tenant, you deal with the noise. Somebody on the board votes to defer maintenance to keep fees low, and 5 years later you're the one paying for it. You're tied to their choices whether you like it or not, the same way they're tied to yours. That's not a reason to avoid the condo, it's just the reality of sharing walls, a roof, and a budget with a dozen other owners instead of going it alone. 2 repeating buyers, 4 condos, and 1 city proving there's no single condo buyer out there. Somebody wants a gate and an elevator. Somebody wants a mansion story. Somebody wants a boat and a quiet dock. Somebody wants music on a porch on a Sunday night. New Orleans has a place for every single one of them. If this helped you see your own next move a little clearer, like this video, subscribe, and check out our next one where we do a full map tour of the Garden District, street by street. I'm Margaret, and along with Bernard, we're your relocation team, ready whenever you're ready to make the move.